Servus YouTube zu einer neuen Folge von Let's Play, der Stanley Parable.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Ja.
What could it mean?
Was könnte es
Stanley
meinen?
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Möglich. Wir haben beim letzten Mal ein ziemlich konfuses Ende genommen. Also das war Brainfuck Deluxe mit der gelben Linie und so.
When Stanley came to a
Jetzt
set of
werden
two
wir,
open doors,
da ich
he
glaube ich
entered the
alle
door and
rechten
left.
Möglichkeiten, also von der rechten Tür, ausgeschöpft habe, werden wir jetzt die Enden bei der linken Tür überprüfen. Okay, wir folgen dir. Du hast bestimmt recht. Du hast natürlich recht.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Ah, das Broom Closet. Wollen wir es uns nochmal antun? Ja.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Watchman hat mir nämlich den Tipp gegeben, ein Zuschauer, dass ich noch nicht wirklich alles
There
gehört
was
habe.
nothing here.
Und das
No
war
choice
ziemlich
to make,
genial hier
no
drin.
path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No
Also
reason
schaut euch
to
dieses
still be
Werkzeug an.
here.
Und diesen Besen. Der Besen. Ach, schaut ihn euch an. Der Besen. Er sieht so
It was
quadratisch
baffling
aus.
that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
FA habe ich jetzt auch herausgefunden. Was ist es? Das heißt fuck all.
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
Ich möchte dich reden hören. Ich stehe auf deine Stimme. Wer steht nicht darauf, YouTube? Jeder steht
You
auf
do
seine Stimme.
realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
Übrigens, falls ihr das Achievement ihr könnt nicht springen haben wollt,
Maybe
drückt
to
einfach
you
mehrfach
this is
Leertaste.
somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friend, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
Ganz ehrlich? Das ist bisher das... Na, wobei... Die...
Stanley was fat and ugly and really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection.
Das
That's
ist
how
immer
stupid
geil,
he
wie
is.
auf einmal so
That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and
beleidigend
hookers.
wird.
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose.
Ach, wie nett von dir.
Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. He or she has fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
Warten. Okay, wir gehen raus.
Ah, second player, it's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you. You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a
Watchman hatte
monkey
recht.
nearby you can hand the controls to. The fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky.
Ich
I'll
hätte einen
just be waiting
Kaktus.
for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
Oh, Ist doch noch nicht fertig, oder? Scheinbar schon. Aber trotzdem, war's wert. War's wert. So.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's
Ja,
office.
genau. Ich verstehe kein Englisch. Tut mir leid, YouTube. Ich habe irgendwas von runter gehört.
But Stanley just couldn't do it.
Ja.
He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours.
Das stimmt.
He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating?
Ja, irgendwie.
No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream.
Ja, ich träume.
What a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all.
Ich träume das.
And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go
Träume
back
das
to my
alles
boring
nur.
real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Oh. Whoa.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared.
Oh my
It was
God.
so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked
Jetzt
himself
kommt's.
sooner.
Jetzt kommt's.
Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
Ja.
Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought.
Ein
And while he
neuer
thought it all
Brainfuck.
very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself? Believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life.
Wie,
Now,
ich
hearing
träume
the
doch
voice
nicht?
speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream.
Nicht?
Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream.
Und wie?
So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been.
Ist es so?
My life is normal. I am normal.
Warum erzählt die Stimme das schon
Everything
wieder?
will be fine. I am okay.
Jetzt ist er verrückt geworden. Oh, nein.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real.
Whoa.
I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
What? Einfach blank.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Was? Mariella?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like.
Natürlich.
And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Ja, so sollte man es auch machen. Man hätte ihm ja helfen können. Der Boden ist wieder voll gekleckst. Na gut, YouTube, hier werde ich unterbrechen und wir sehen uns beim nächsten Mal bei einem anderen Ende. Die linke Tür hat noch einige Möglichkeiten offen für uns. Danke fürs Zusehen. Ciao, YouTube.